for like an hour and 15, I think.
Squirrel.
Yeah.
And I have sniffed so much Yeti that my head immediately became shaped for a flat brim.
When did you know you really liked Cameron?
We became buddies like immediately.
Like
Once
right
we
off the
became
bat?
Friends. Yeah. Well, I had him on my podcast. It's the first time I met him, and he brought me a Hoyt bow. So how could I not love him?
I did.
What did you think when that happened?
I thought I made it.
I love it.
I thought I finally made it.
This is Tim Burnett with Solo Hunter, and you're listening to my favorite podcast, The Gritty Bowmen.
I just Randy Black Eagle.
That's it. Boom.
That's my.
That's how we roll. Just drop the mic and walk away.
On this episode of Gritty Bowmen, Aron, Snyder, Anthony Spencer, and myself hang out with the veritable, authentic, what you see is what you get, sheep hunting adventurer Bryan Martin of Asian Mountain Outfitters. Bryan has hunted all over the world, from Canada and the U.S. to the Asian countries of Kyrgyzstan, Mongolia, Russia, Pakistan, Tajikistan, and more. On this episode of Gritty Bowmen, we discuss rugged mountain hunting. Our topics range from dealing with such things as swamp butt to whether or not women are as tough as men. A fair warning, things get dicey in this podcast. Bryan is a little like Donald Trump, not too worried about saying things that might offend people. And Bryan isn't shy about his opinions either. Like I said, what you see is what you get with Bryan Martin. He is direct and to the point. We have attached a copy of Bryan's gear list to the show notes on our website for this podcast episode, and you can learn more about Bryan and Asian Mountain Outfitters at www.asianmountainoutfitters.com. Just roll with it. Cool. All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Bowmen podcast. I'm here with Bryan Martin, and we've got Anthony Spencer and Aron Snyder here at the Western Hunt Expo. And I'm going to get to know you because I don't really know you, Bryan.
You don't, do you?
I don't know anybody, so don't take that the wrong way. Like, I knew who, like, Eva Shockey was, and
you probably are a follower of Kim Kardashian on,
that's right.
on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
When's she coming on, by the way?
Actually,
Later?
I didn't really do Facebook or Instagram until just a couple months ago.
It was funny. I mentioned your name, and Anthony's like, I'll talk to Bryan, and Brian's like, who? He knew who you were.
Yeah, that's just. Yeah, I'm not really into that. The scene very well. I'm learning quickly though. So
I usually leave my phone number at Flying J truck stops. So you must stop at Chevron instead.
So tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm from your home state.
Yep.
Oregon. Moved to Canada for hunting, and now I do most of my hunting business in Asia with Asian Mountain Outfitters. So I've been outfitting since 1999.
But
Wow.
in Asia, you, Ibex, and Marco.
Specialize in Ibex and Marco Polo, but can kind of offer anything over there now.
But
From blue sheep to the tourer to some of the Russian sheep.
But you get hired out to go anywhere, and you go on hunts.
Yeah, I
all year,
organize.
everywhere.
I'm part outfitter, part booking agent, part guide, part information specialist.
The second you walked up, I recognized you like that. No
even,
name
even
whatsoever.
Even with the Dick Do disease.
Dude.
My last pictures are about 30 pounds lighter.
No, I recognize you from sheep magazines, and
hunting
it just
articles.
your face is like boom.
Well, and your sister is accomplished as well, Amy Martin. She was in the Olympics as a rower.
Yeah.
And she's killed quite a bit
She's
of stuff.
killed archery, rifle, everything. Done some guiding, a lot of consulting.
Yeah.
Yeah. She lives in Colorado.
But Bryan, how I got to know, I kept hearing his name about he's a monster.
You want to call him Martin?
Yeah, Martin.
Or call me Call?
Yeah, okay. I'll
Cole?
figure it out. But
Because people listening are like,
Bryan, which Bryan?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Bryan Martin, or Martin for short. I kept hearing
You got two first names, so we can
Exactly.
just go with that.
And my middle name's still a first name, too. So
What is that? What is your middle name?
Kenneth.
Wow.
BK. So BK, I kept hearing about because I was known for carrying heavy weight, and anytime it pop up, I hear about BK.
There's some pretty epic photos of him with backpacks that look like they're.
And so I looked into him a little bit, and that was pretty cool photos. And I was like, man, this guy kills more than smallpox. I'm like, everything's dead when it comes around him. And I asked some questions, and I asked some people I knew, and the Facebook. I said, did I send you a message?
Maybe he was on Facebook. Because
Yeah.
I don't use Twitter.
Yeah. No tweeting. You gotta keep up with my tweets.
Instagram?
Yeah.
I actually don't have an Instagram account.
Wow.
But
you're even more behind than me.
I know.
It turns out he has the same humor that I do. So we hit it off immediately, and that was 5 years ago.
Well, we learned that don't take things personal.
Yeah.
Being sensitive and too emotional is a weakness. You got to be able to laugh at stuff. People say things.
Thick skin.
Or at least pretend to be thick-skinned.
I'm working on that.
Yeah.
I'm a sensitive guy.
Really sensitive.
So, but if someone, like obviously the Marco and the Ibex, that's your main thing, and you book, I mean, you go to all these different shows, but you're pretty successful. I mean, without even talking, as a friend, we don't hardly ever talk about your hunts. We just talk about everybody else. But
I know we talk about gear and
yeah. But you've guided everything from moose, ibex, Marco, Doll, Stone,
pretty much
Desert Bighorn. You
shot a mule deer.
Yeah. You shot a 198 Bighorn in Montana, didn't you?
Actually, right at 190.
Yeah. Big
wow.
Big one.
But Montana is like shooting a 190 Bighorn in Montana is like shooting a 165 or 170 in Wyoming.
Yeah, it's still a big.
Yeah, it's big. I mean, it was a big ram, and we looked for a while, but it's not an incredibly difficult hunt. Not like doing a solo stone sheep hunt or, a 13-day backpack doll sheep hunt in the Brooks Range with no, waiting for weather and running out of food. I mean, you come back to your truck at night, you stay in a hotel. Montana bighorn hunting wasn't so difficult. There are difficult areas, but that one wasn't the most difficult.
But you are, I would say, from an outside perspective, without knowing you, the one thing I found out quick is if you want to get an animal, you get a hold of Bryan. He gets it done. Like, you will do whatever it takes physically, and you don't do very well. I've heard a couple, one from you, epic Thor-type ice axe throws when the hunt didn't go quite as well.
I did have a nice Petzl ice axe.
Are we talking about temper tantrums here?
No.
Only a couple times.
Not bad.
I've only broken one car window, 2 cell phones, and 1 ice axe.
You're in good company right here. These two.
Oh, Lord. But, you'll get it done. I mean, you'll do whatever it takes. I mean, you've done everything. Like, I don't think a lot of people don't realize you have guided every animal known to man, nearly.
I've done a lot of. I mean, I'm good on dangerous animals, good in the mountains. Guided a lot of bow hunters. Used to bow hunt a lot. A lot of people think of me just a backpacker, but I've been using horses for hunting since I was 19. Probably in Kyrgyzstan alone, I have 1,400 miles on horses, and I don't know how many in Canada. So I'm pretty good on a horse.
Yeah, I was going to say
only camels for fun, only for photos.
I've seen him on a 2-hump camel before in a photo. But but I think from my being overseas as well is people don't realize the logistical pain in the ass it is just to get there, and what you're up against is not only as a guide but as your client getting over there to you, which is why those hunts are.
It's not as difficult as people think, though. I tell the biggest question people ask now, because they watch too much CNN and too much Fox News, is they worry about safety.
Right.
ISIS, Syria, refugees.
Yeah.
Bombing.
Absolutely.
But
that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
But if you look at how many people die from car wrecks and heart disease and texting while they're driving.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing they need to worry about when they go overseas is, can they shoot? Can they hike? Are they healthy? Do they have good mental? I mean, when was the last time you read of a hunter getting ran over or blown up by a terrorist or anything like that when they're overseas? No, and the most dangerous thing is probably the high altitude and the cold weather and bad drivers. Bad drivers over there not wearing a seatbelt when you're driving around town and icy roads. That's what I would tell a guy. Put your seatbelt on, take your satellite phone, take warm boots.
I was in India for work, and it was like bumper cars.
Oh, India's insane.
The driving was just out of this world. We did get in like a couple of accidents, and we were there 7 days. Every car had a dent on it all the way around.
That's just the way they drive there. Now, Kyrgyzstan and Russia is much better, but much worse than the U.S. or Canada. I mean, lines are relative. They're just a guideline.
Totally. Yeah. There's
two
no
lines.
rules. There's no lights. There's no stops.
2 lanes is good for 4 cars.
It's just who can go.
And lots of honking, but they don't have road rage. I've never seen road rage there.
They just
I've seen the road rage in the U.S. much more, and also in Canada.
I've never had road rage myself. But it's an 18-hour basically flight.
Depending on where you're coming from, West Coast, 18 to 20 hours. Depending if you come from a little town or a major town like L.A. or San Fran or Houston, where there's direct flights on Turkish Air. But in general, everything resonates out of Istanbul, as far as, unless you go to Mongolia, then you'll
Yeah.
go through Beijing, or if you're going to Eastern Russia, you go through Alaska or through Moscow. But everything else, basically, the Istanbul's the hub for Central Asia and Southern Europe.
Yeah, I've always said, we have irrational fears as human beings. Like, we're
Too many.
afraid of getting in an airplane and dying in an airplane. Like,
I've had people sitting in the airplane like this.
Yeah, the whole time.
And the chances of the airplane, I mean, they have a way better chance of nose or fit of getting their tampon or something like that than they do of
Totally.
actually having a wreck.
Just driving, home from the grocery store is far more dangerous than flying in an airplane, and yet we can't relax on the plane. So.
Well, you should be able to. I mean, you got to control the things you control and not sweat the petty things.
Yeah.
Just
well,
pet
sort
the
of
sweaty
like
I knew that was coming.
like bears, people have this fear of getting eaten by a bear, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a legit primal fear, right?
Yeah.
I think we've evolved this way for a reason. We're afraid of snakes, right? But we get in a car all day long, no fear.
Cars are much more dangerous.
And they're way more dangerous than a bear is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On that note, while we're talking about bears, how big was the bear you and your buddy killed? You killed that thing last year, right? Or a year before?
I killed a big bear in Alaska. It was like 9, 10.
Yeah.
9. It was like 27.5-inch skull.
Explain to people, though, the fact there about what's the reality of shooting. You hear about 10-footers all the time. How many 10-foot brown bears have you seen?
1, maybe 2. I've seen a lot, 9 3/4 of 10. I've been on 3 brown bear hunts, but they're all long hunts.
Yeah.
Usually we were trying to get 2 bears.
Yeah, but the 10-plus footer is kind of like a unicorn.
A true 10-foot bear, like on the Alaska Peninsula or Kodiak Island, usually will make Boone and Crockett if he's of any age, usually.
Right.
So if a guy's shooting a bear with a 26-inch skull or something, he's usually not a 10-footer.
Yeah.
And Kodiak has wider skulls in general than the peninsula. The peninsula is a little bit longer bear, and so if you shoot, all my hunts have been on the peninsula, about 100 miles from Cold Bay, up like around Harradine Bay or up further.
Yeah, that was your biggest bear, wasn't it?
Yeah, biggest bear.
Yeah.
I've seen one bigger that I went back and got my buddy. I wanted him to shoot one first, and by the time we got back where I'd last seen the bear and got on the snow, he was post-holing through the snow, doing about 40-inch strides in a normal walk, and that was over a 10-foot bear, I'm sure.
What's your most epic experience? Like,
well, I have lots of epic ones. I mean, I have all-night hikes.
Pick one. Tell me about it.
Probably my big ibex I shot was right up there with an epic experience. We tried to. We'd heard that there was big ibex in Kyrgyzstan.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was going to try and get Aron to come, and I had one client. He'd never done a hunt like this before, and so the trails were bad with the horses, and he was riding on stuff. I said, "Are you sure you don't want to walk?" He said, "The guides are riding." I said, "Every cowboy I know would walk right here." Yeah. I said, "Ignorance is bliss." Right. So even I would get off and walk. So we got down and we set up camp. And we went scouting, and we found some big ibex for the hunter. So the hunter and 2 of the guys took off after these big group of ibex, and I grabbed one of the kid's dad, one of the guides, and he and I took off downstream. Well, we went about 1.5 miles, and it had washed out. It was a big gorge, and the creek had about a 30-foot drop off, and the trail I couldn't even walk it, and there was a pickaxe there. It would have taken us 2 days, 3 days to fix it. So he said, screw this, and somebody's going to die here. The horse is going to die. The horse almost slipped off just getting there. So we rode back. I waited that night, did a little more glassing, chased around an ibex. There was about 48 probably, but I wanted, bigger. And the hunter, we'd heard that he'd shot, and he came back like 2 or 3 hours after dark because it was hard for him. Yeah. And he'd shot at 2 really big ones, a 45 and a 47, and both old. So the next day, the young kid and we threw on our packs. I brought a pack for him. I brought a sleeping pad for him, a Hilleberg tent, a stove. I had to borrow the hunter's gun. I'd shot it once before. Borrowed the hunter's spine scope and tripod and walking stick because my luggage hadn't showed up. So luckily I had 2 check bags, 1 carry-on. Yeah. And we took off, and it was 5,100 vertical feet. That we started at 8,100 and climbed to 13,100. And definitely no trails, crawling through some waterfall stuff. Found one little place in the dark to make a place for the tent, and there were snow leopard tracks up there and everything. So then we dropped down the next mountain. We dropped down to 7,600 feet. So we dropped 5,600 feet.
And how much miles?
Put that in perspective.
That was probably about 7 miles, 6 miles, not that far. But it was a steady down. Got over there, saw a bunch more ibex, but nothing that we could really get on. Nothing that was over. Maybe one that was 50.
How
That's
many
some
days
walking,
is going
dude.
by here when you're gaining 5,000 and losing 5,000?
We left probably like midday, climbed for about 8 hours, hunting to get to 13. Found the place about an hour after dark. The next day we hiked. Not all day. We got to this creek, and it was a much bigger creek. You're going to get kind of wet crossing it, or there's a lot of ice because it was late October. So we finally found a place to camp. A lot of cactus there. The next day we climbed up on the hill about 1,000 feet, looked back, and found different ibex. We found a route we were going to go back up, but I didn't see ibex where I killed mine. So we took off again because going downstream with the ice was just too dangerous and too much cactus. So we climbed back up about another 3,500 feet, and I spotted right at dark, some big ibex. We didn't know how big they were.
Yeah.
Next morning, got up, they weren't there, and finally relocated them, and I shot one, and he was 54-inch, and so, but they've never seen people as far as I could tell, at least not hunters.
Yeah.
I mean, they never saw us, but on the way stalking them, I ran into some other ones. They just looked at us. Normally an ibex, I mean, when they see you at 1,000 yards, they're running like their asses on fire. I mean, because somebody shot at them or something. Yeah. But these animals hadn't seen it. But I treated them as that they had. Yeah. You never know. Maybe. It was about 11-year-old ibex. And then,
dang, man.
And then we packed and we got down and camped.
Those things are just freaking amazing.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine they can move with those things on their head too.
Yeah. But I mean, that was probably one of the in the last couple of years. But I've had a lot of solo hunts when I was late 1990s, when I was in Montana. Yeah. And Idaho goat hunts. Where you're packing out through this deep of snow. I mean, 130, 140 pounds is that's normal.
Go ahead. I'll let you talk now. I still have so many questions I wanted to go for.
The thing, you asked Gillingham about arrows.
Yeah.
So, for example, I said, Brian, what's that goat score? So, you're going to learn how to score goats when the conversation's done. You'll know. Because I remember the first time, I think I sent you a photo. I'm like, hey, what's the score? And immediately you're like, it's like 47. Now, Aaron, and then 45 minutes later, I'm like, man, I didn't think of half of that shit. You got to look at the prints, the imprints, the body size. You want to look at the face. If the face is long, he's going over all this stuff. So a lot of the things, like if you weren't gone, a lot of times, sometimes I'll text Clay. I text Bryan when I can. If I don't know the score, because you've seen so many dead, he can score anything. I mean, elk, mule deer, brat bear, ghost. But you've done it all.
Usually Cape Buffalo, eland, any of that stuff I'm usually pretty good at.
Wow.
What's the most dangerous? I mean, surely you've almost died.
The most dangerous is not the animals; it's the conditions you're in.
The weather.
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
would assume so.
Two times I've almost fallen off of mountains. One time I did fall, but I caught myself. Twice I fallen, and one time almost drowned. We overloaded a boat and it sank on us, and we had to get back to shore.
But that was warm.
No bad.
So hypothermia.
Yeah, hypothermia. I mean, luckily we had one life jacket. If we didn't have a life jacket, I probably would have got hypothermia and wouldn't have been able to make it. Hard to say. Yeah. But we had one.
I'm still stuck on this elevation now. Don't take this wrong. But you don't look like, a triathlete or something.
Well,
so when I talk about gaining 5 and losing 5 and gaining 4.
No offense, dude. No offense, but he just insulted you.
No,
he's a monster.
I don't get that kind. I mean, that boggles my mind.
Well, when I did that trip, I was probably about 210, 215. When I was in my prime, in college, I was about 175 pounds, and most of my guiding career around 180 to 195. Right now, I need to. They have those fat challenges and stuff. I probably need to do one of those.
But do you have clients that do that kind of stuff with you, though? Was that more extreme than what you were
I
doing?
didn't take a client on that. There's clients that can do it, but I don't really know how a guy is going to react to that elevation.
Yeah.
And so it's just easier for me to go with a local guy. Yeah. And then I definitely have had clients that would do it, maybe a little slower. I've had a couple guys that are amazing athletes. One was an ultra marathon runner from back in West Virginia, and I mean, you couldn't beat him going uphill, but I could beat him on the side hills and downhill and everything because I'm longer legged and with heavy packs on for sure. But he was an amazing runner.
And I know multiple guys that have hunted with you. Even with Dick, you will outwalk 99.9% of the planet. He can go. I remember Frank telling me about you, Saunders.
Oh, Frank Sanders.
And there's a lot of GD and F'ing.
Yeah.
And he was the GD and F'er. And it just basically saying you guys were busting brush on a bear hunt. And he was like, didn't matter how fast I went, how far I went, I still couldn't find him. He's like, I just couldn't keep up no matter what I did. And multiple guys, I mean, your heart rate from talking to you, you can sustain a very high
There's no way you can do what you've done without fitness.
Incredible.
Without,
I
Keep your
did. I
heart
used to
rate at
train
180 for a long
No,
time.
one time I was just talking to a guy yesterday about the science of fitness and hunting and all that. And my one friend, his name's Brad Mongol, excellent archer.
Yeah.
One of the best, most fun hunters. He's an ultra marathon guy. He's a ER doctor in West Virginia, and he was working on his North American 29 when I hunted with him. And he and I had a heart rate monitor. We were climbing this hill. And it was about 2,400 vertical straight up, and we were loaded for 10 days for backpack grizzly hunting.
Yeah.
So we were each at least 80 pounds. Well, I was 80, and he was about 60. He's much smaller than me. And I wore my heart rate monitor. We stopped once for water, and it was no trail. And my heart rate, other than we stopped, never dropped below 170 for 2.25 hours. And a couple times when we were like screwing around, it was about I could do about 180 for about 8 minutes. You can't do more. And then once you hit 190, you got to shut her down.
I'm not like that.
I hit 190.
Bryce,
I am going to shut down
Bryce
forever.
Bryce is like that.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's healthy or not.
Were you like? I mean, has that always been kind of a?
I mean, I can hit my maximum heart rate. I've hit it quite a few times. Is around 202. The last time was about 3 years ago that I actually recorded it.
Colton's like that.
Yeah.
Colton's can withstand like you heart rate forever. And the thing that
It's probably a smaller heart that just works harder though.
I don't know. I mean,
don't know.
It's like a Subaru with a turbo instead of a V8 like Vin Diesel goes.
Hey, dude, if it can just keep going, though, who cares?
I haven't died yet.
I was gonna say, but yeah, I mean, he's probably you guys are a lot alike in the. He'll go until he almost blacks out. Like
I've never blacked out yet.
Yeah, he's blacked out twice on me. But your heart rate, just talking with you or whatever, that's a huge benefit. Hitting the mountainside. But you've also, in the short period of time, trying to cover your whole hunting career. Most people don't realize you are a very educated man. You got a four-year degree, and then have guided the rest of your life.
Yeah, I went to OSU and got an engineering and business degree. Actually, was there 5 years.
He's extremely intelligent at a level that a lot of times I'll just stop talking when we start getting into it. Well, the last time when you stayed at my house, the Chernobyl and the flood, he couldn't get off the computer paying attention to the flooding and the power plant.
Oh, you mean Japan?
Japan, but you were talking Chernobyl going back and forth. And most hunting guides that I know, not that
You're comparing those two incidents?
Oh, he's on the computer going back and forth, comparing everything, reading about. You don't find very many that I've found very many educated hunting guides. Not like at your level.
Well, the problem is a lot of the guys who I knew were really good hunters in school. They didn't like school.
Yeah.
They were out chasing rabbits and deer and coyotes when they were. And I still got good grades and played all the sports. So I didn't get to hunt as much as I wanted when I was young, but I did every chance I could.
You kill in Oregon, though. I've seen photos.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hunting since I was extremely young with BB guns and 22s and big game hunting since, as long as it was legal. My first elk was at 13, and that was a pack-in trip we did.
So how did you get from Oregon to Canada, and then why Canada?
I went to Canada strictly because of the hunting. I remember when I was in college, and when I was 19, 20, they said, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to go to Alaska or Canada and be a hunting guide. Really? You got a full ride, not a full ride, but a really good scholarship in engineering. I had like 3 scholarships. I took one term off, and I lost one of the scholarships. It was pretty substantial because they didn't let you break your. And the one guy just shook his head. But he said, he said, if that's what you want to do, go for it. So I finished my degree, didn't really want to, moved to Montana, and then ended up going back to Canada because that's what I really liked.
I really would like. I mean, I want to go to Canada. I want to do some of these kind of high adventure kind of hunts, but I hate being cold, man. I hate it.
Well, Canada's actually the worst is the wetness. Like in Asia, you're not wet. You're usually cold and dry.
There you go. Just go to Asia.
I just need to go to Asia. See, we hunted
Canada's
the desert
wet
this year and a few times since, and the heat.
Desert's awesome.
Fry me. I'm good with that. I can handle the heat. I hate being cold.
The most dangerous is that 30 degrees to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Wet, damp, can't stay dry. Wind.
Western Oregon cold.
Yeah, basically that's what.
Well, the type of stuff people don't take enough clothes because they don't think they're going to get. It's not going to that cut. Like when it's -10, you're going to have a lot of clothes.
Right.
That's not when you're going to die. You're going to get your problems when you're. It's like on the edge. What's a good hike? We'll just go take it. We'll just take a T-shirt and a water bottle. We'll go for a hike, and then it hits you.
Yeah.
The last time I wore Wranglers hunting when I was 19, we were working on a cabin. I had Wranglers on, and my buddy and I climbed this hill, and it started downpouring rain and trying to snow on us.
Yeah.
And I got baboon ass from the pants, and it was stuck to me, and it was just horrible. I had never wear Wranglers in the mountains again since that time.
Yeah. I'd have just took them off and left them there.
Yeah.
I'm bold like that.
There was a lot of bush, though.
Would it get
maybe
caught up
not.
on your hang down?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're a gear junkie as well.
Yeah, I
So
mean, more than
you-
anything is I like the gear.
You wrote articles for Hunting Fool for gear for
Like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I used to pore over those articles.
very
especially when I was
intricate,
younger.
detailed.
Yeah.
It took me a while, but I don't really, a lot of people are trying to promote this product or that product.
Yeah.
I would try and say, okay, here's 5 different packs. Here's 5 different pack companies. Here's what you look for when you buy a pack. If you're a QU fan, if you're a Mystery Ranch fan, if you're try and compare and contrast them.
Kafaru.
Yeah, exactly. So, I've actually worn Kafaru and Mystery Ranch the longest. I started wearing Kafaru back in the mid-'90s, and then Mystery Ranch again when they went from Dana Design to Mystery Ranch.
Yep.
And then now there's a lot more pack companies in the hunting market, but back then there wasn't much.
Right.
There was a cheap stuff, and then there's a few high-end companies, but there wasn't a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot more to choose from, a lot more companies making clothing.
Yeah.
Back then it was Arc'teryx, Mammut, Marmot,
Right.
Mountain
That's
Hardware.
That's what we all kind
So
of
I would
experienced.
go shop at Oregon Mountain Community and REI to buy all my stuff.
Yeah.
Now you can go online and find stuff. You
I
buy
remember
directly.
getting ready to go to Prince of Wales Island and buying a North Face rain jacket.
Yeah.
Because there just wasn't anything in the hunting market that was really nice. And I was just getting ready to leave, and Kuyu had come out with this Chugach.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was on a forum, and they're like, no kidding, this is awesome. So I went and bought that jacket and returned the North Face like a week before I left, and then was just blown away by it. And so curious, what is your favorite layering system right now?
You mean like the how I do it or the company?
Both.
I mix stuff up. The last few years, I've been using a lot of QU.
Yeah.
For underlayer, I like synthetic and wool, depending. If I'm going to get really wet, I don't like wool as much because it dries too slow. So if I'm going to be sweating, really hard on a hike, I will a lot of times just wear a synthetic top.
Okay.
And maybe my rain jacket. So if I try and when I'm hiking, I'm going to sweat. I mean, there's no, especially at my weight right now, but I've always been a sweater, skinny or fat.
Yeah.
And so I try and wear as little as I can. As soon as I get to the top, take my wet top off, put a dry top on, put some layers on, different synthetic products. I still wear some outdoor research. I know Sika Gear made a really nice heavy duty cold weather parka pants for hunting in Asia, which I've worn. I've worn some First Light stuff. I really like their long underwear and some of their socks. I wear a lot of Kenetrek socks. Kenetrek boots fit my feet. Scarpa and La Sportiva make the most technical boots. I know that for guys that want the most technical, there's a lot of good stuff out there to choose from.
Yeah.
For me, it's the most important is find stuff that fits you. And, and when it comes to rain gear, too many people use stuff that's not durable enough. I mean, I don't ever buy the ultralight rain gear because it shreds, especially the pants.
Yeah.
One little slip and you blow them out.
Right. That's where I carry a lot of duct tape, and I just...
Duct tape is good. Free Sole and Scene Grip are good. They're really good for preparing rain gear in the field if it's not saturated. Gorilla Tape is better than duct tape.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to be able to take...
You said that, too.
Yeah. And I take different, like needle and thread. I take zip ties. Something on the pack breaks. I've had things on the packs break.
Do you have a pack list?
Several.
Yeah,
Can you give us one?
I can give you one. I have one on my website, but it's about a year old. I have to update it a little bit.
We'll
like
put
3
that
pages long.
We'll get that and put it in the show notes of the podcast.
There's one thing I'm going to add to my pack list, and I haven't done it yet, so I'm going to add Vagisil. Because a lot of people come on the trips, and, I think they forgot it.
Well, I think, Bryan, if I was going to make a shirt for Bryan for Canadian Mountain Outfit, Asian Mountain Outfitters, I would say throw your vagina in your backpack and grab your nuts, because that's definitely Bryan's motto.
Here's the deal. I like to be nice with people, and I want to prepare people the best they can. Because if you go out and hiking in 20 below in shoes like this, you're going to have problems. So I take this stuff to fix the guy's feet. But the thing is, and I've seen as I've got older, we're not as fast, but the mental – guys want. They said, "Can you guarantee me a 60-incher? Can you do this? Can you guarantee me you won't quit? You won't miss. You won't grab. And you won't grow a vagina on the hunt."
Here's the thing. Do you realize how sexist that sounds? Because
it's not about sexist, and you shouldn't be sensitive. Some people have vaginas, some people have penises. It's a fact of life.
But what you're saying though is, you're not tough if you've got one of those.
Well, I can say preparation H then, because maybe some guy has hemorrhoids.
There we go. Because I get it. We were talking about this. We're guilty of this. Like, I'll say, "What are you, a woman? Come on, suck it up. Let's go."
Just talked about that
and I'm like, but I know some women that are really tough. I do
Yeah.
some CrossFit.
Humor sometimes is not politically correct.
Yes.
Being politically correct is basically lying. Because you're not really telling what you really feel.
Yeah, but do you feel like women can't do this?
No, it's not about women. It's just about what's that? I've had several women clients, and the really serious women, on average, are probably as good or better than the average guy for sure.
Well, you
but
and
I've never met a woman that will do the stupid things that like Aron and I will do. Like my sister's as tough as
She's
I've
a
hunted
tough,
with because she
tough
was an
woman.
Olympic athlete, but they still just body size. They just can't carry the weight typically that a guy can.
Yeah.
You and Christy went on a 14-day backpack.
Oh, yeah.
hunt, and she did fine.
Christy Titus?
Oh yeah. I've
Yeah.
hunted with her a couple times. I've hunted with Kristen
Yeah.
Davis from Utah here. I've hunted with my sister many times. I mean, there's some really tough women out there.
Yeah.
But it's not about having a vagina or a penis makes you tough. But it's an analogy,
It's an analogy.
though. Yeah, which is true. When a guy,
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it hurts sometimes. We can fix most stuff. You got bad feet, we'll fix it. You know, you got baboon ass, we'll it on there for you.
Well, Aaron and I talked about this, and basically, you just have to manscape it all. Just shave it all off.
I shave
like
a
hairless, like a little boy.
7-year-old.
That's not what gives you the baboon ass, though.
What does do that? Because I had to talk with Aaron.
It's-
He's just
it's-
like, I don't get it.
It's moisture. It's the wrong fabric
There's
in the
no-
wrong place.
I
the
have
best thing-
muscular buttocks, and
No,
the
it's
seam
usually
down
more,
the center
it's usually
doesn't
more,
get any oxygen.
It's usually more
airflow.
If you're a little bit fatter, you'll get worse baboon ass. So
It's-
people are really skinny.
You're a little too fat, Brian. Yeah, I
It's
told you I had a
sweat.
big
It's
butt.
sweat and fungus is what happens. It
But
starts
the
to
worst
get it.
baboon ass I ever had was either cotton or actually one of the worst was the wool. We're hunting in heavy snow, wet snow,
Moist,
high humidity,
Wouldn't dry.
and it wouldn't dry. And so I had the best product for baboon ass is Sport Shield. You can buy it in these like little blue packets. You buy it in a little container, and you put that in. I call it like Skin Slick.
Is
Yeah.
that the stuff
It's like
that
skin
athletes use and
Teflon.
stuff,
And
Yeah,
that's the
for
only
your
thing.
marathoners?
That's the only thing that I found that you can actually walk out without crying and bleeding. I've seen a couple guys bleeding from it.
Yeah.
Actually,
no,
so
no,
bad.
I've
It's not on
had-
the balls. It's on your skin. When
Right.
your ass cheeks meet the thighs. Typically.
Yeah, I've had those problems myself, and that's why I was quizzing him quite a bit.
You
about
can't
it.
see it on camera. Brent has his pants down and he's pointing to it so we can see. So good job, Brent.
Thanks, Brent. It's
Yeah.
it's right. It's not so much here as it's right here.
I thought that was a cobra's mouth.
Yeah. One of the things Brian and I, pretty much every time we talk, is about things like this, and Brian being a very dedicated guide, you get the
BK.
the BK
Martin.
BM is what a lot of guys call me.
BM.
BM.
So BM, and I'm starting to see it more and more now. Helping Clay is
Yeah.
It's an inches thing, right?
Yeah.
Can you get me a 70-inch moose? And what you have to deal with is, like you said, well, are you going to be fat when you show up? Are you going to be able to shoot your gun when you show up? Are you going to skyline yourself? Are you going to wind yourself? Are you going to give up on me in 6 days, or can you make the whole 10? And that has driven you crazy for the last 20 years of your life, probably.
Yeah, I mean, and so I try not. I don't like to cater anymore to guys who want the biggest one,
Yeah.
unless I really know them. But if you want the biggest one, you got to be willing to go home without one.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why a lot of outfitters historically, they used to call it same-day airborne in Alaska years ago when it was still legal. That's how they got a lot of big animals. Guys can't hike that well. They fly around airplanes and spot them, and then they
Drop
land
you
and
off,
go shoot them.
Go shoot 'em.
But that's not really hunting. That's more like shopping.
Yeah.
So,
That's
I mean,
NWT, buddy.
yeah.
Shooting.
Well,
Yeah.
Brian gave me the
BM.
best. BM gave me the best scenario of the Northwest Territories before I left, and I should have listened better because, politely, it is not overly difficult. You fly over the animals the day before, and then you land and you camp, and then you walk over the next morning and you shoot them. And it's not.
Do you carry a
think
stick bow and shoot them with a rifle?
No. Well, some people do actually. He knows a few, but what did you? You said that was the closest. How did you word that? This closest sheep hunt to how the hell did you? Anyway, an easy sheep hunt, as easy as you can get, for the use of helicopters, which is good for old guys.
Yeah,
and
you can
for-
land above the sheep instead of coming up from the bottom.
Yeah, and it's good for older guys or larger guys, and guides, I guess, would last longer physically doing that. But it's much different than what you do on the way that you
all the
hunt.
stone sheep hunts we did and everything, we didn't really have the ability to scout with a plane. So you landed in a place you know there's sheep or hope there's sheep.
Yeah.
There were sheep there before, or you heard there were sheep 20 years ago, and you go hunting. And those are the hunts that might be day 1, day 5, day 12. You don't find one, or you find a couple good ones. So those are the ones that's why I like Asia, though, because you don't have the trees and you don't have resident hunters. and you have big hunting areas, and so you can go hunting, and it's kind of more pure hunting.
Because Anthony asked, why Canada and then why Asia? Like, how did
Canada is wonderful, but you're relegated. Most outfitters have an exclusive guide area, and so it's kind of like farming the same field all the time, hunting the same area every time. I like to go see new stuff and challenge myself, and so once I know the area well, it just becomes it's if from a business standpoint, having one area and mastering it is probably better.
Yeah.
But from an interest standpoint, hunting in 6 or 10 or 12 different countries and going on all these different trips, it makes you a better hunter, and it's more interesting.
Right.
Just like if you go traveling, some people like to travel, they like to go on the same cruise every year.
Yeah.
And other people want to go that cruise once, and they'll go. And so I'm the guy that if I was a cruise guy, I want to go on different cruises.
Yeah.
I don't want to buy a vacation property in one place. I'd rather go,
all over.
Go do timeshares in another place and see different places. So everybody has their thing.
After having done all these different hunts for different species, what is the species that just is cool that if you could say, man, you got to do this someday if you can?
Well, if you're a mountain hunter, you got to hunt like the Ibex and Tour. For the money, they're very affordable for guys that are traveling.
Yep.
I mean, the Marco Polo is the longest horned sheep in the world. There's some really good Russian snow sheep hunting. This is a little bit primitive the way they do it. They don't have the logistics that they do in Alaska.
Yeah.
They don't have the airplanes and the boats and all that, so you got to be a little tougher and deal with guides that are a little ill-equipped.
They're really intriguing.
There's a lot of species of Ibex. You got stuff in Spain. You got some of Eastern Europe. Well, they got Ibex in Austria and Switzerland, and then you have there's even Ibex in Israel.
Texas, right?
Israel and North Africa has Ibex.
Have you hunted them in the States here, like the New Mexico?
No, the ones in New Mexico are originally from Iran. They're people think they're the Bighorn Ibex from Turkey, but they're actually the Persian Ibex from Iran. Very similar, but smaller bodied.
Got it.
But then all the countries that come around China,
they
all have Ibex. So Mongolia and Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan,
all those
Pakistan.
stands where you think you're going to get killed by a terrorist.
I mean, keep in mind, as you go there as a hunter, you have to get...
I mean, not me. I'm not afraid.
Well, you kind of look like a Taliban. You just don't have a unibrow.
Right.
It's the teeth.
Yeah, and you got teeth.
Yeah.
I think they're teeth. But anyway, I don't really worry about that because most of the time when you come to these countries, you're coming in with a firearm, and so you get police security, military clearance, and the outfitters typically have guns too. So it's in most people's best interest not to mess with those kind of people.
What have you found hunters in those countries are like?
Good hunters are good hunters anywhere in the world. They typically aren't as good at trophy judging unless they've been around a lot of the Americans and Canadians and Europeans who are really trophy conscious.
Yeah.
And so they have to learn like how big it is, centimeters and inches. And to them, a lot of the best hunters, like most places in the world, Africa, Asia, the guys who grew up as a kid having to poach for food and survival with primitive weapons.
Right.
Those are the guys, they have the mentality of a bow hunter, a slug gun hunter, where they got to get close, they got one shot, and they can't screw it up. So they're very careful in their stalking. The guys who are like the nomad horse guys and aren't hunters, they're the ones that ride over the hill and scare stuff.
Yeah.
So they're good. They're good in the country, but you want a guide with you who knows what he's doing because they'll just ride over a hill and then animals are running already.
Yeah.
So, or they say, big, shoot. And so
I heard Jim Shockey on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about.
Who was Jim Shockey's guide over there?
My first time Jim ever hunted Asia, he hunted with me, and then he's hunted many times since then.
Yeah, that's cool. He was talking about going to these different countries and kind of describing what it was like, and it sounded pretty neat.
Well, Jim likes adventure. I mean, he does Africa and Asia, and I mean, he hunts pygmy goats and he hunts everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he likes to do something new all the time.
So lay it out for us. So you said Ibex is probably the most
for the money.
attainable.
A big Ibex is still very affordable.
What is the money on that?
What are we looking at?
If it depends on who you go with, myself or others. The lowest end Ibex hunts around $6,000-$7,000, and they go up to about $35,000 in Turkey, depending on how big, how difficult the area is to get a tag in, how much the government fees are.
Yeah.
But like your Argali hunts, which are your Marco Polo type animals, they start at $25,000 and then go up to about $150,000. So they kind of start where the Ibex end.
Yeah.
Very few Ibex you have to pay more than $20,000. If just one species, really, they have to pay more than $20,000, and that's just the Brazil.
But if you're a mountain hunter, that's it. What about like tar or something like that?
Tar are native to Nepal,
okay.
And then there's a tour, which are, but you can hunt tar in New Zealand very inexpensively, and you can hunt Aoudad sheep in Texas and New Mexico, which are native to Sudan. So. which is very expensive out
Audad
there.
seems cool too. Like that would
The
be a
Ibex
neat.
is what
one
I
to-
find interesting.
Audad is a great hunt in Texas. I mean, it's a great sheep hunt. You can go
Yeah.
self-guided in New Mexico. Texas, you normally have to pay a trespass fee or go with an outfitter because it's big private ranches.
Yeah, yeah.
New Mexico has both private tags and land and public land tags. And you can hunt the
Yeah, we've got a
Ibex
friend that hunted them in New Mexico.
in New Mexico.
Yeah, killed him with a bow.
Yeah, I mean that looked just insane.
That's the Floridian Mountains in New
Some
Mexico.
just straight up and down cliff country that's just
they had to rappel down to.
had to rappel down.
Mountain goats are
Rappel down to
amazing,
get the
and
shot.
even more agile than them is probably the Markhor, which is native to Pakistan and parts of Afghanistan and Tajikistan, and there's 4 species,
Isn't
and
there a
those are
pack
crazy.
named after?
And those are expensive. Those started about $90,000 to $100,000.
We named a pack after that,
Yeah,
mostly because we
Markhor.
ran out of names, and we called one the Argali, one the Markhor,
Good
and
names.
one the Tar. Yeah,
Well, at least something I can remember.
yeah, exactly. And it's
You.
not
I mean, as
overly
much as I
difficult.
love Hilleberg tents, I can
Yeah.
never remember half of their names.
Well, yeah, I was going to say
The green one.
We both run Hillebergs a lot. In fact, I think you introduced me to. I was running them, but you introduced me to Petra.
Yeah.
And Stu, which I talk to Stu all the time now. But they're Scandinavian names. But the ones I use, the Solo, the Nyack is one of the new ones.
Is it
Those ones
Enon, right? The Ulan,
Enon, yeah, Onion. But I have to at times the Savo,
Savo.
Savo,
Yeah.
and I
The
can't.
I call it the Sagittarius,
Yeah, the Sagittarius.
but it's called the
Satari.
Sagittarius. Yeah.
Well, she always corrects.
And they got the Tara and the Janu,
Yeah.
the Chiron and the Namich,
Every time I name it, she'll
and the
correct.
Atlas. Well, the Atlas is normal.
Yeah, she'll correct it, and I'm like, Petra, you could just make the name easier to pronounce,
Yeah.
But Petra and Stuart are super, super good people.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
I've used a lot of their stuff. And then they got the Altai. They got a lot of different tents.
Yeah.
I mean, they have tents from little 1-man to 6-man.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. But we've got we should probably we're gonna do a podcast with Mark Boardman with Vortex here in a couple minutes. So we should probably cut this loose here.
Dude, it was awesome to meet you.
You
Thanks
too.
for coming on the
It was great.
podcast.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Bryan.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yep.
Okay, Gritty friends, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you did, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher. We love reading your reviews. And connect with us on social media if you're on there. Look us up on Facebook and Instagram, and take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can receive notifications when we upload new videos. We've got a sweet deal with Mountain Ops. You get 20% off on all Mountain Ops supplements, combo packs, and apparel when you type in the word gritty at checkout. If you're a hardcore elk hunter, or you want to be, go to the Elk 101 website online and check them out. Our friend Corey Jacobson is killing it with some of the best elk hunting information and entertainment on the web. If you haven't heard, we're doing a huge gear giveaway to try and grow and expand the gritty community on Facebook and Instagram. I asked a bunch of friends to pitch in on this gear giveaway, and they all came through with some awesome stuff. Our friends at Kafaru, Rockslide, First Light, Phelps Game Calls, One Shot Gear, Mountain Ops, Triple X Archery, Blacktail Outdoors, and Is It September Yet are pitching in some sweet gear for the giveaway. We'll announce all the details in the next few weeks. All you have to do to be entered to win is like our Gritty Bowmen Facebook page and follow us on Instagram. All right, friends, let me leave you with one other quote from Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "It behooves every man to remember that the work of the critic is of altogether secondary importance, and that, in the end, progress is accomplished by the man who does things." We all have a choice. We can be people who do things or people who criticize the work of others. It's pretty simple, really. Get out there and do your thing. Good luck on your hunts, and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
Gritty Bowmen.